Along the way, we will also explore worked examples from AI by hand by Professor Tom. And here it is the exact exercise 17 taken from the book AI by hand by Professor Tom. Now again, moving on, the first row from the vector A and the third column from the vector B. I'm really grateful to Professor Tom for permitting the use of his content in this session. And to find the value of this unknown variable x and y, you have to make it this conversion of equation towards. Kindly just observe here, dear friends. We want to identify this exact value. So we have to inverse the matrix of A and we have to do the dot product towards the B. Good morning, dear friends. Here's Dr. Rajanta. Welcome to Demystify with Ajay. Dear friends, today we are in comprehensive NumPy session where we move from the fundamentals to the powerful applications that make NumPy the backbone of scientific computing in Python. We will begin with indexing and slicing, moving to broadcasting and explore copying and input-output operations. Then we will dive into NumPy in statistics and unique elements to reversing arrays, handling CSVs and even plotting with Matplotlib. Finally, we will unlock the true power of NumPy with arithmetic operations and linear algebra, from square roots and logs to dot products, matrix multiplications, inverses, determinants, traces, and solving systems of equation. Along the way, we will also explore worked examples from AI by hand by Professor Tom. His insightful approach makes abstract concepts like dot products and matrix multiplication simple and visual. I'm really grateful to Professor Tom for permitting the use of his content in this session. Let me just start with sorting NumPy arrays. Dear friends, there are so many various types are there to sort NumPy arrays, and here we just start with numeric arrays, which are defaultly in ascending order of numbers. Dear friends, here is the example where it just shows how to sort a NumPy array of 10 random integer. See here, dear friends, here it is the function which we are just going to have a collection of 10 integer number. Randomly, we are just going to select it from the integer between 1 to 20. And we are going to store it in the variable my underscore array. And here is the list, dear friends. So 10, 17, 9, 15, 6. Of course, it is not in a sorted manner. And kindly have a note of it, dear friends. This my array, which we are just going to pass it to np.sort function. And of course, one on just passing to that, we are going to have the sorted array. And of course, as I have already specified, this numeric array are sorted by default in ascending order of numbers. And here we go. So see here, even though the 3 and 3 is repeated, of course, it is in a sorted order. Next let me just move on to sorting text array. As mentioned earlier, text arrays are sorted in alphabetical order. And here we are going to make use of the sort at text array. And see here, dear friends, the text which we are just going to have it in a list format, and the text are red, green, blue and yellow. And same, let me just store the same list in the my array. And here is the array which is just an unsorted manner. And here it is not so much difference. The same np.sort is the exact function, and towards passing the my underscore array, the exact array which we are having in an unsorted manner as like red, green, blue and yellow, on passing it to the np.sort, we are just going to have the sorted array. And kindly just let me see it. Observe, dear friends, blue, green, red and yellow. Here is the one, the text which is in a sorted manner. And of course, dear friends, here we are just going to have a Boolean array which are also sorted in a way that all the value whichever in ascending order, see here dear friends, this false value would appear in the first and then goes for true and the following. Why? Because yeah, of course it is in the sorting order of a text manner, and of course kindly observe here we are going to have so many elements which are in the boolean values. And yeah, to the same we are going to pass it to the variable my array, and here it is so the exact original unsorted array which is in a boolean value, and the passing my array to the function np.sort, yeah, it would be resulted with a sorted array. And of course kindly have a note of it, the false would be the first one, and followed false values appears first in an array and follows towards the true value. So this is how a boolean array are sorted. And let's come to an 2D array. Dear friends, NumPy also allow you to sort two-dimensional array. In two-dimensional array, each item itself is an array. So the sort function sorts an item in each individual array in a two-dimensional array. And kindly have a note of it here. Yeah, in this function we are just going to have the unsorted array and the sorted array in a single execution. So see here, randomly we are just going to have 20 values, and of course it is in 4 into 6 two-dimensional matrix. So 4 into 6 is in the sense as like 4 rows and 6 columns. And once on pausing that random array into the variable my underscore array, yeah, after that we are just going to get it sorted in the manner of a function by passing the same np.sort. And see here dear friends, kindly observe the result. Okay, I just make it in next line execution. So see here, so here each and every individual, kindly observe, each and every individual array is sorted. Each item itself is an array. So when I'm just passing on to the sort function, yeah, of course, kindly just see in the first row 12, 7, 3, 4, 5 and 9 is there. Of course we are just getting in the manner as like 3, 4, 5, 7, 9, 12. And there it just goes for the second row. Yeah, here 7, 16, 7, 16, 15 and 9. And there it goes 7, 7, 9, 15, 16, 16. So as it's so here, we are just getting this two-dimensional array in a sorted manner and by using the same np.sort function. Next, you can also sort an array in a descending order. Yeah, kindly observe dear friends. To do so, you can first sort an array in ascending order by using the sort method, and next you can pass the sorted array to the flipped method, which we just say, yeah, it is a reversing method. Yeah, the reverse the sorted array and returns the array sorted in descending order. Here we go, yeah, we are just going to have the same 21 to 20 values and 20 number. So that is randomly we are just going to take 10 values and we are going to store it in my underscore array, the variable. And once on sorting, kindly just see here dear friends, first of all we are just going to get a sorted array. After that, that sorted array we are just going to pass it to a flipped function to get it reversed. Yeah, the reversed only, it is just going to be the resulted. So yeah, we are going to first sort an array in ascending order and then we are going to reverse it by using flipped function. And here we go. So see here 7, 8, 10, 10, 16, 10, 7, 14, 3 and 3. Yeah, here is the unsorted 10 values which is between 1 to 20. And once for all, we are getting the exact resultant in descending order. And that descending order, it just starts with the higher range from 16 and ends at 3. Okay, dear friends. Next, let me just move on to the broadcasting NumPy array. Dear friends, broadcasting allows you to perform various operations between NumPy array of different shapes. Here we are having an example. See here, the array 1, which is just having 3 items, and another scalar array that contains only 1 item. Yeah, we are just going to do some operation between that 2 arrays. And here we are having the example which is just going to add it. So the array 1, which has the 3 element, and the array 2 is a scalar value scalar array which has only 1 element, that is 1 item. Yeah, when on just adding it, finally the output, you will see that the scalar value which you are going to have, the 10, is added to the first element of this array 1. And of course, the exact result was stored in the variable result. Okay, and kindly just observe, the first element is 14, second 25 and 31. Yeah, this first is added to the first element. And of course, this exact thing, let me just see one more example of broadcasting. And kindly just see here, dear friends, you can add a 2-dimensional array with 3 rows and 4 columns to a scalar array with 1 item. And of course, here we go. Yeah, this is the exact randomly having an array of size 3 into 4. And here we are going to name it as array 1. And the same array 2, we are going to have it as the 10. And see here, dear friends, we are adding it by the same thing, the same manner, where array 1 and array 2 are added and stored the resultant in the variable result. And here we go. So see here, this is what the first element in the array 1. And yeah, it is added to the first element of this array 2. And of course, array 2 is a scalar here. So the 2 is now resulted with as like 12. And the 13 is get added with 23. And this 1, yeah, resulted with 11. And the 3, it's resulted with 13. Next to 14, 10, 9 and 1, yeah, it is resulted as 24, 20, 19 and 11. And of course, the last also, it has a resultant as like 15, 16, 9 and 13 is resulted as 25, 26, 19 and 23. So when on making this broadcasting to perform operations between a 2-dimensional and 1-dimensional. And see here, dear friends, let me just have some more examples where the 2-dimensional array, 2 arrays, one, let me just have it as like 2-dimensional with 3 rows and 4 columns. Here one more example is there. And next we are having the array, the second array. Kindly observe, it is having a 1-dimensional array with 4 columns, that is one row with 4 columns. Okay, on adding this, kindly observe, on adding this, and see here the first array is of 3 into 4 and we are just going to have it as a randomly. So 1 to 20 now values is just going to have it as a randomly and storing it in array 1. So we are having the exact value of array 2 only. And let me have the exact resultant. Observe, dear friends, 12, 18, 8 and 18. This one was exactly added to the element of the first row of this one dimensional that is 4 columns, which it just has 1 row, 4 columns, and this was resulted to every single rows. And see here, 12, 18, 8 and 18 was resulted as adding the 12 towards 5, adding the 18 towards the 10, and 8 with the third element 20, and the fourth element 18 towards the fourth element as 25 in array 2. So when on making this, the resultant we just get is 17, 28, 28 and 43. And this was going to repeated on the second row also. So the second row of array 1 and the first row of, that is the one and only row of array 2 going to be added, and here we get the resultant, that is 16, 19, 18 and 16 has been resulted with 21, 28, 38, 41, because we are having different values in array 2. 4 different values. It is not as like one single thing in which we just seen in the cell 10. Okay. Yeah, finally, let me just move on to the last line. Of course, this 2, 4, 15 and 6 has been resulted with 7, 14, 35 and 30. Hope you just understand this. Yeah, let me just move on to the next exact example. See here, dear friends. Here we are going to make use of an array and see the first array, which is just going to have, yeah, the same thing, a random integer, and the value it is just going to be from 1 to 20, and the size of array is 3 into 4, that is 3 rows and 4 columns, and which is added to another 3 rows and 4 columns. And since in this case the values of row matches, therefore in the output what we are just going to have it. So see here, this is 3 into 4, so 3 rows is there, and each and everything are in one single column, dear friends. Kindly observe, this is 3 rows and single column. So 5 and 10 and 20 are in a column wise. So kindly observe here, and when on just resulting, what we just get? Yeah, let I execute this. So see here, 8, 10, 5 and 9 is the first row. 17, 19, 14 and 8 is the second row, and 7, 9, 5, 8 is the third row. And kindly observe, dear friend, this is how it is just added up is the first row of array 2 has been added to the first element of first array 1, 8, which is added with 5 and it is resulted with 13. And second one, the second row first column of array 2 is 10 and it is added to the second row array 1, second row column 1 in array 1 is 17. So the resultant is 27. And there comes the last one is 20, which is added to the 7 and we just get 27. And kindly just see the second column of array 1, that is 10, 19 and 9. I am just making it as like in a column wise. Kindly observe 10, 19 and 9. Now it just becomes 15, 29 and 29. And to the same, the third column 5, 14 and the 5 has been resulted with 10, 24 and 25. So to the last column also the same. So this is how you can just make it towards the column wise. Yeah, next coming the copying NumPy array. Dear friends, there are two main ways to copy an array. So you can either copy the content of the original array, or you can copy the reference to the original array into another array. Okay, so let me just see it with both the examples. So to copy the content of original array into a new array, you can call the function called copy. Okay, you can call the function called copy of the original array. Now, if you want to modify the content of the new array, the content of the original array are not modified. So that is the main thing towards the exact function which we just say copy. And of course, here one more script is that is the copy of array2 when we just make the changes in the index 1. See here, dear friends, I just explain it again. So here we are having an array 10, 12, 14, 16, 18 and 20. These are the elements of an array which we are specifying as like array1. And kindly just have the array2 is a copy of array1. And here we go, we are going to change the array to the index 1. Now we are just going to change it as 20. And originally it was 12 and now we are just changing it to 20. And yeah, let me just print both the exact array1 and array2, and kindly observe the result and kindly see here the array1 is going to have the same thing. The array2 what we have modified has been updated. You see that the index 1 for the original array is not modified here. Rather, it just have only the modified after updating it. And the other method to copy an array in Python is by using view. Okay, I just let me have the same thing again. Yeah, it's again, I think so. Fine. Okay, so let me just have it by view method. And see here, dear friends, in this view method, if the content of a new array are modified, of course, the original array is also modified. So kindly observe here. Yeah, of course. What is the exact element here? 10, 12, 14, 16, 18 and 20. Of course, we are just going to have a view of that array 1 towards array 2. Okay. And yeah, here we go with 20, which we are just going to change only the index 1. Okay. And the index 1 has been changed towards 20. So, of course, we know that array2 has an modification. And kindly just to see here, dear friends, as we have changed the array2, yeah, of course, we are just going to have a changes in array1 also, because it is all about the view. Yeah. Statistics is a branch of mathematics that deals with collecting, interpreting, organization, and interpretations of data. Initially, when we get the data, instead of applying fancy algorithms and making some prediction, we first try to read and understand the data by applying statistical techniques. By doing this, we are able to understand what type of distributions data has. Dear friends, let's just start with descriptive statistics. Descriptive statistics involves summarizing and organizing the data so they can be easily understood. And it's unlike inferential statistics seeks to describe the data, but does not attempt to make inference from the sample to the whole population. Here we typically describe the data in a sample. So this generally means that descriptive statistics, unlike inferential statistics, it's not developed on the basics of probability theory. And of course, these descriptive statistics are divided into two categories. One is measures of central tendency and measures of variability. So under measures of central tendency, we have mean, median, mode. And coming to the measures of variability, that is spread, yeah, of course, standard deviation comes. So let me just start it, how to find a mean of a data. Dear friends, mean or which we just specify as like average, is a central tendency of a data. That is a number around which a whole data is spread out. In a way, it is a single number that can estimate the value of the whole data set. And here it is the one given in the example that we have an array as with 5 elements, that is 2, 4, 8, 10 and 12. And we are just going to store it in a variable called my underscore array. And to identify the exact mean, of course, we have to sum all this value and divide it by n. So where the n is number of elements here, of course, 5 elements. And see here, dear friends, on to the resultant. Yeah, we just get the mean of these array. And which array? Yeah, my underscore array, where it just stores these 5 values. And let I just execute here, dear friends, and see here, I'm coming to the mean of these data. The data is 2, 4, 8, 10 and 12. Of course, we have to sum it and divided it by 5. We just get the resultant 7.2. And here we have already passed the exact data. Of course, even though we can also have a random set of data where this would be a 2-dimensional array, and here it is of 2 rows and 3 columns. And see here, dear friends, this exact function, yeah, we can just do it in 2 ways, that is across the rows and across the column in 2-dimensional. Yeah, to find across the column, we have to pass the exact parameter of axis is equal to 1. And similarly, to find the mean across the rows, yeah, you need to pass 0 to the parameter, axis parameter is equal to 0, the value. Okay, now let me just take an array randomly. Of course, the random number, it is just going to be between 1 to 20. And the size of the array, it is of row comma column, that is 2 rows and 3 columns. And let me just identify the mean by using the function np.mean. And here we are having the 2 types of things. One is with the column wise, as axis is equal to 1, and the row wise axis is equal to 0. Let I just execute. Kindly just have a note of it, dear friends, as we have done it randomly. Yeah, this exact random array, it just has 2 rows and 3 columns. And when on just making it towards the column wise, this is the first column, and we just have 8 of 6 and 9 and 12 and 18 of 16, so that we just get 8 in the exact row wise, and 15 and 4.6 as a column wise. Row wise as 2 rows we are having. Okay, so yeah, next we are just going to identify the median. Dear friends, median is the value that divides the data into 2 equal parts. That is, the number of terms on the right side of it is the same as the number of terms on the left side of it when data is arranged in either ascending order or descending order. And the median will be the middle term if the number of terms is in odd. And the median will be an average of that middle 2 term if the number of the term is even. Okay, let me just identify the median of a given values. So here the given values are the same thing which we have used it for mean value. Yeah, so 2, 4, 8, 10 and 12 are the given values. And yeah, here is the function np.median, where we can easily identify the median of the numpy array. Okay, so here let I just execute it. And see here, dear friends, yeah, as we are having it in odd sense, yeah, the center value is the exact median value. And of course, the next one, we are just going to identify the 2-dimensional type of array Okay, and where it is just going to have a random number of 1 to 20, between 1 to 20, and the exact size of that array is 3 into 5. And kindly observe, dear friends, when on just making it 3 into 5, of course, on the row wise, we just get 3 rows, of course. So here, according to the axis is equal to 1, it just makes the row wise towards the column, and across the row towards the column here, it just comes the axis is equal to 0. Okay, so yeah, here also we just pass the exact median as the function, and let me just explore here for a two-dimensional array. And we just got the randomly integer value from between 1 to 20, and we are having the two-dimensional of 3 into 5, the size, so that it is 3 rows and 5 columns. And kindly just have a note of it, dear friends, as we have 3 rows here, for each and every row we are just getting the median value here. So for kindly just observe, so here for this value, yeah, 12 is the median value, and for the second row we are just having the 14 as our median value, and for the third row we are having 7 as the median value. Okay, and of course across to the column, so we just passing it to the 1, and across to the row we are just passing it to by axis is equal to 0. And kindly just to see here, dear friends, when we are having across to the rows, yeah, we are having 5 columns, and kindly just observe to this exact columns. So first column 3, 14 and 18, of course 14 is the median, and 15, 18, 14, 15 is the median. And here 12, 6 and 6, of course we just have 6 is the median. And 2, 5, 6, 5 is the median, and to the last 14, 16 and 7, so 14 is the median. So this is how we can observe and we can identify the exact median value of an two-dimensional array. And next, let me just have the minimum and maximum values. So what is the minimum value of an array, given array? So here, yeah, it can be identified by using the exact function as max. And to the same, the minimum function, it just returns the minimum value of the given data. And here it is the given data that 2, 4, 8, 10 and 12. Yeah, of course, we want to identify the minimum value, and here it's so we are just getting the 2 as the minimum value of this given data. And of course, we are having one more function where we can identify here, so as the maximum. So before that, let me just make a attempt of a two-dimensional array where we can just have the size as like 3 into 4. And of course, here also the same example of randomly integer, just between 1 to 20 we taken as our data. And with this, when on just finding the exact minimum value, yeah, we can just go with two main functionalities. One is row wise, across the rows or across the column. And here to the dear friends, kindly just observe, by passing 0 or 1 as values for the axis attribute of this minimum method, yeah, you can identify the values across all over rows or columns. And see here, dear friends, the value of 1 for the axis attribute returns the minimum value across all columns, and whereas the axis is equal to the value of 0 returns the minimum value across all rows. And let I just execute it. See here, dear friends. So when coming to this two-dimensional array of 3 into 4 size, and here we have 3 rows and 4 columns. When we just take it across the column wise, yeah, we have the rows of 18, 18, 8 and 18. So of course 8 is the minimum here. And when coming to the second row, 5, 8, 17 and 8, Of course, 5 is the minimum. And to the last 5, 15, 4 and 19, of course, 4 is the minimum. When across to the all rows, yeah, we are just going to have 4 columns here, and to be true, yeah, 5, 8, 4 and 8 are the minimum values towards all across the rows. Fine. Now let me just move on to identify the max value. So that is maximum of that given data here is 12. And kindly just have a note of it, dear friends. We are just passing the function Amax for identifying the maximum value across these given data. And next, coming to the maximum, identifying the maximum value in a two-dimensional array, and the dimensional of the size of the dimensional array is 3 into 4. So here we just get 3 rows and 4 columns, obviously, and yeah, to the same we are just going to store it in the variable my underscore array. And then when on just passing the function a max to that of numpy, yeah, with two functionalities. One is axis is equal to 1 and axis is equal to 0 according to the column wise and across the row wise. Yeah, here we get the maximum value. And dear friends, coming to the next type of this statistics, so which we just say measure of spread. And yeah, this measure of spread, just we have a standard deviation. Standard deviation is the measurement of average distance between each quantity and mean. That is how data is spread out from the from the mean. A low standard deviation indicates that the data point tend to be close to the mean of the data set. And while a high standard deviation indicates that the data points are spread out over a wide range of values. And let me just identify the standard deviation, dear friends. And yeah, let me have an example here. So this is the given data 2, 4, 8, 10 and 12. Of course, here to identify the standard deviation, we are just going to pass it the standard function std, the function to find the standard deviation of a numpy array. And here the given array is my underscore array. When on just passing that my underscore array to the std function, that is standard deviation function. Let me just explore the resultant and see here, dear friends, this is what the standard deviation value of the given array, and the array is 2, 4, 8, 10 and 12. And of course, we can also identify the standard deviation of a two-dimensional array. And of course, here the size of the two-dimensional array is given by 3, 4. And when on just making it towards across the row wise and across the column wise, we can identify the standard deviation of the two-dimensional array by making assumption as 1 to 20 as the given value. So see here, these are the values of a two-dimensional, and here it is just giving the 3 rows, that is across to the top column we just get the 3 values of an array, that is standard deviation of them across the column wise, and here we just get across the row wise. Fine, dear friends, next we are just going to find the correlation. See, correlation is a statistical technique that can show whether and how strongly pairs of variables are related. The main resultant of the correlation is called the correlation coefficient. Of course, if the exact correlation, actually the ranges of it just from -1 to +1. So the closer R is to +1 or -1. So the more closely the two variables are related. And here, if the exact value is close to 0, it means that there is no relationship between the values. And if the value is positive, it means that as one variable gets larger, the other gets larger too. And if the exact value is negative, it means that one gets larger, the other gets smaller, which is just to specify the inverse correlation. And I just specify it again, dear friends. If one data increases, the second data it's also increasing. It is said to be as like positive correlation. And if one data is increasing, the other data is decreasing, is in the sense inverse wise. So it is specified as like a negative correlation. And so that we need here two datas. Of course, one given data here we are just getting specified as 1, 3, 0 and 0.9 and lastly 1.2. And here we are just specifying it as an array 1. And the second array here we are having as like -1, 0.5, 0.2, 0.6 and 5. Of course, let me just get it displayed here as this is what A1 and A2. And when on just identifying the correlation, yeah, we are just going to pass the exact function correlation. So here we are using the correlation method and passing it the two NumPy array between which you want to find the correlation. And here it is the two array as A1 and A2. And kindly observe, dear friends, when on just passing it, yeah, we get the correlated value as 7.04. And hope, yeah, of course, it is positive. So it means that one variable is increasing. And if it is increasing, yeah, of course, the second value would also get increased. So that has come, it just specify as positive correlation. And next we just go for identifying the unique items. And if it is not a unique or anything, yeah, let me just say how many times of occurrence it has. So to identify, let me just go with the number of counts. Okay, so see here, dear friends, let me just identify the unique value by providing the method unique. And to find the values in the NumPy array, yeah, here the given NumPy array as 587593 7, 7, 1, 1, 8, 4 and 6, 9 and 7, 3 lastly. So here I just want to know what are all the items that are unique, that here I should not get any duplicate value. So only the unique items it has to be printed. Yeah, for that we are just going to pass the method unique. And when on just passing the method unique, yeah, here we just get only the occurring of ones alone. So here we just get 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. So these are the unique values that available in this given data, which we just specify my_array. And kindly just have a note of it, dear friends. To find the count of every unique item in a NumPy array, you need to pass the array to the unique method and pass true as the value for the return counts attribute. And see here, to this given number itself, see here, that is 5 is occurred twice and 7 it is occurred 4 times. And when coming to the number 8, it is occurring twice. So how many times the exact unique value has been provided? So that we have to identify. So yeah, of course, we can just get it done by using the both functionality. Kindly just observe it, dear friends. So here we are just going to have the unique items and to its occurrence. And how this occurrence is going to be happening is, of course, The unique method in this case returns a tuple which contains a list of all unique items and corresponding list of counts for each unique item. So here is the, I just execute it and see here, dear friends. Yeah, we know that these are the unique items as like 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. And below is the exact list where it just specify number of times of each unique item. And kindly just observe. So for 8 here, we just get twice it appearing. And so here, yeah, as like this and towards this. And when coming to the value 7, yeah, it is occurring 4 times. Yeah, let me just observe here. Yeah, here it is the 1 and the second occurrence and third occurrence. Of course, here it is the fourth occurrence. And one way you can get the count value against every unique item, which is creating an array where the first item is the list of unique item and the second item is the list of count, by making use of a function called as array. And see here, dear friends, when on just passing it, yeah, of course, see here, one is as like unique item and the second one is the counts. Yeah, this is the resultant from the 13th cell. And when I'm just making this, yeah, of course, we can just get it done with an as array. It is just getting created. And here it is, so let me just display the array here. And if you want in another way, yeah, of course, you can also make use of transpose the array that contains the list of unique items and its counts. So making it transpose, yeah, in that output, in the execution of that resultant, and kindly just observe here, dear friends. So you will get an array where each element is a list and the first item is the list in the unique item itself, while the second is the count of its. So let me just have it, and here we are just only including this dot and an uppercase of T, which is just specify the transpose. And see here, dear friends, the 1, 3, 4, 5, 7, 6, 7, 8 and 9, and here we just get the occurrence, number of occurrence. And next come the, dear friends, kindly observe, we are just going to create a CSV file by using a NumPy. Yeah, this can be possible by making it with a to-file function. See here, dear friends, this CSV file that is as like comma separated variables, this file are an important source of data. So the NumPy library contains functions that allows you to store NumPy array in the form of CSV files. And here the NumPy module also allows you to load CSV files into NumPy array. So both the things it is possible. And let me just start it with how to save a NumPy array in the form of CSV. And you can use the to-file method and pass it to your NumPy array. And kindly just observe it, this example, dear friends. Yeah, we are just going to have it randomly 1 to 20, that is the number between 1 to 20, and the size of the two-dimensional array is 3, 4, so 3 rows and 4 columns is there. And let me just create it as like an array. And of course, we are just going to store it as like an array in a CSV format. And yeah, each and every data which we are going to store it is with a separator of a comma. So of course, let us just execute this file and see here, this is the one which we can just have 14, 8, 14, 16. So this is the first row, and second row as 12, 13, 14 and 4, and the last third row is as like 16, 14, 6 and 17. And here though, dear friends, this is the exact array which is in the size of 3, 4, a two-dimensional array. When I just want to save it as like a text file, yeah, you can also save it in the form of text file, where one and only things, kindly just see here, this is as like we are going to have it as like a txt, that is dot save txt. And to store this two-dimensional array in the form of multiple rows in a CSV format, yeah, you can also use this save text method from the NumPy module. So here, let me just make use of this. From where you are just getting, yeah, of course, this is the array, that is one among the parameter, and we are including the delimiter, thus one among the thing, and of course, this is stored as like an file. And what is the file? Yeah, it is array2.csv. Yeah, dear friends, this exact array2.csv would be in a text format, and my underscore array.csv, it would be in a CSV format. Okay, and let me just load it once for all. If you want to load the exact file, and if you want to know what is the exact file having, yeah, you can just make use of the method as get from the text, or you can just get it from the CSV file as like you can just explore it in another format. It is there. So here we have to specify the delimiter. Yeah, of course, we have used the comma as the delimiter to store it in a text file. And here, so dear friends, to load it once for all, kindly just have a note of it. So this is the exact data that has been loaded. Sorry, that has been saved it as like an array2, and now it is just loaded. And of course, we have loaded the array by using the gen from text method. Dear friends, NumPy is a Python library that provides support for numerical operations on large or multi-dimensional array and matrices. It also includes a wide range of mathematical functions that can be applied to these arrays, including arithmetic operations. Kindly have a note of that, dear friends. NumPy performs element-wise operations on arrays by default, and meaning that each element in an array is operated on individually. And here, the dot product and matrix multiplications are example of operations that work on the entire array as a whole. And here, in addition to this basic arithmetic operations, NumPy provide a wide range of mathematical functions that can be used on arrays, including trigonometric functions or logarithmic functions and exponential functions, and more are there. Let me just see one by one some few functions here. So let's just start with finding the square root, and here it is the one, dear friends. For finding the square root of all the element in the list, we are just going to make use of the square root function, that is sqrt. And kindly just have a note of it. Here, the exact list, the element are having 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 as its element. And here, the nums is the variable name of the list. And when on just passing the function sqrt, that is the square root function, of course, we would just get the square root of each element individually. So let I just execute it, and kindly just have a note of it. So this is what the exact square root of the function to find all the elements in the list. And then next comes the logarithmic, and here the log function. And this log function is used to find the logs of all the element in a list. And here it's so the same 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 would be the element of the nums. And when on just making the log function, and kindly just have a note of it. np.log is the exact function passed on to the nums, that is the list. And yeah, here we go, we are having the logarithmic function, that is the logs of all the elements in a list. And next comes the exponential. And kindly have a note of it, dear friends. You can find the exponential of all the element in the list by taking the function exp, that is the exponential. And here we go, the same elements of the list are provided to the same nums as the variable of the list, and when on just passing the function, exponential function, to the list nums, and here we have the exponential of all the elements, and of course we are just getting it in the form of exponential 2. Dear friends, you can find the sines and cosines of items in the list by using the sine and cosine functions respectively. And how to find it is, of course, the sine function. Here we are just going to pass it as like sin, and for the cosine function we have to pass cos. And when on just passing to the list, and yeah, we would just get the cosine functions and the sine functions respectively according to the element of the list. And here we go, the first one is the sine function of the list element 10, 20, 30, 40 and 50, and the next one, it just shows the exact execution of cosine function of it. And it just all are simple, very simple to be that just passing the function. But here we are having the main function as linear algebra operation. Kindly have a note of it, dear friends. See, data science makes extensive use of linear algebra. The support for performing advanced linear algebra functions quickly and effectively makes NumPy one of the most routinely used library for data science. And here we are going to discuss some of the most linear algebraic operations with NumPy. And first of all, let me just move on to the matrix dot product. To find a matrix dot product, you have to pause on to the function dot. And to find the dot product, the number of columns in the first matrix must be matched to the number of rows in the second column. Kindly just have a note of it. Dear friends, before applying this dot product using Python, let me just use simple step-by-step exercise to really understand how the dot product works. Let's begin with exercise 1, taken from the book AI by Hand by Professor Tom. Dear friends, the simplest possible dot product. Of course, here we have a vector contains, A contains just a one number, 5. And the B vector also contains one number, that is the 3. So the dot product is defined as multiplying each corresponding element and then summing them up here. Since there are only one element in each vector, we only do multiplication. So here 5 times 3 equals, here it is 50. So, and that's our result. Of course, this exact example shows that when vector have only one dimension, the dot product is identical to simply multiplication. It's a good warm-up before moving into a larger vector. In exercise 4, taken from the book AI by Hand by Professor Tom, here the vector A, it has 2, a single number. But here the vector B is missing and we have the result 6. As this exact, the multiplication, as the dot product rule is simple, multiplying the corresponding entries and add them. And here there's only one pair. So here, of course, we are having the result and we should specify one thing. That is 2 times this would result the number 6. So actually the result here as the vector B would be resulted as like 3. And dear friends, actually this problem reinforces the core mechanism before we moving into multiple or multi-element vectors. Now, here we are in exercise 5 taken from the book AI by Hand by Professor Tom. Dear friends, here we have one vector which is a vector B. It is negative number -3, and here the vector A is missing. And kindly just observe, dear friends, here when we just have the result, of course we are in need of, that is this multiplied, that is the multiply the corresponding entries and then we have to add here. But here we have the one vector, that is a negative vector, and towards the resultant here it is in a positive. So something a negative number would be multiplied by negative number, of course it would be resulted here. And here of course after the same thing. So when we just multiply the 3 with another 3, vector 3, so we just get the result 9 here. So this dot product are not always positive. They capture direction. In higher dimension, a negative dot product often means the two vector point in opposite direction. If it is one is positive, one is negative. And even this simple cases, we see that the sign of the result matters just as much as its size. Exercise 6 taken from the book AI by Hand by Professor Tom. And here kindly just observe, dear friends, the vector A, here we have two numbers 1, 1. And here the vector B also has two numbers 1 and 2. Now the dot product is computed as 1 times 1 plus 2 times 1, and that one we have the resultant here. So here it just shows us how the dot product combines multiple terms into one single number. It's not just about multiplication, it's also about addition across the dimension. So here this 1 multiplies, that is 1 times 1, here the result is 1, and here the 2 times 1, here the result is 2. When we just sum up, we just get the 3, and yes, the result is 3. This is the essence of the dot product. It compresses information from two vector into a single scalar value. Here we are having the exercise 10 taken from the book AI by Hand by Professor Tom. And here kindly just observe the vector A has a two number of 4, 1, and the vector B has 0 and -1. So here multiple the first entries 4 times 0, which is equals 0. Next multiply the second entries 1 times -1 equals -1. And adding them together, of course 0 plus -1 we equals in -1. And dear friends, here we see how a 0 wipes out one contribution, leaving only the second term to decide the outcome. So this demonstrates that the dot product can shrink quickly if one vector has 0 entries, since those terms vanishes from the sum. Here the exact exercise 13 taken from the book AI by Hand by Professor Tom. Kindly just observe the exact input. The vector A has 2, 3. But the vector B has only 1, the other one is missing. So when on just making the multiply the first entries, of course 2 times 1 we just get 2. But for the second entries, yes, one value from A vector is available, but the vector B it's not. So adding this 2 we just get 5. So with this we are able to identify the missing exact value here, it would be 3. And what would make the 3 here, and towards filling this, yes, this missing vector value of B, yeah, it would be assumed to be 1 here. And here it is the exact exercise 17 taken from the book AI by Hand by Professor Tom. It introduces us with the three-dimensional vector. Yes, dear friends. So here the vector, it has vector A, it has 1, 2 and 3. So 1, 2, 3. And here the vector B has 1, 1, 1. So multiple each pair, that is 1 times 1, okay, resulted with 1. 2 times 1 and exactly it equals 2. 3 times 1 and it equals 3. Adding them up, 1 plus 2 plus 3, which is 6. So this is a special case since vector B is all 1. So the product is, the dot product is simple. The sum of elements of vector A, that is a useful shortcut to keep it in method. Here it is the exercise 20 taken from the book AI by Hand by Professor Tom. Difference, we have the vector A as 8, 4, 5. And from the vector B, we have two values, 1 and 0, but the third one it is missing. Let me just multiply the first entry. 8 times 1, it is 8. And here multiplying the second entry, 4 times 0, of course it equals 0. And kindly just observe here, if we are having this value, that is the 5 times a value x, okay, I just want to calculate this. So on adding them this, we have the result 3. So in such a case, so kindly just observe, on subtracting this value from this, we just get minus 5. So in such a case, if I just have the multiplice resultant of minus 5, and here we have the vector value of 5. So this missing value of vector B, it would be assumed as like minus 1. And dear friends, here the second term vanished due to 0. But the third term, of course, here it is in negative. So this shows how different dimensions contribute unevenly to the dot product depending on their values. This is exercise 21 taken from the book AI by Hand by Professor Tom. And kindly just observe, dear friends, here we have the vector A with the value 4, 2, 9. And of course the vector B, we have only two values. The first one it is missing and the other two values are 1 and 0. And here of course, as we doesn't have this value x, this one we have to identify and multiply the second entries, that is 2 times 1, we just get 2. And here 9, of course it is the multiples with 0. So 9 times 0, here we just get 0. And what makes this when we just add up towards the 6? And here kindly just observe, we have the value 4. On summing up this exact value x dot product with this 2, we just get the result 6. So subtracting this 2, we are able to identify this would be 4 and assuming this x to be 1. The result is quite easy, but even though when on just making it with three-dimensional vectors, we have to check with the resultant and then we have to go on to individual values. And kindly just observe here, we for the third entry we have a 0, so which it just vanished. So it just shows how individual entries can dominate the dot product depending on their individual values. And here it is the exercise 25 taken from the book AI by Hand by Professor Tom. And here too also we have, that is a vector A, we have three values 1, 3, 0. And kindly just observe here the B vector has only two values And let me just start with the multiples of each entries. That is 1 multiplied by 2. Yeah, here it is equal to. And here anything it is multiplied by 0. Of course, here we just get the 0. And kindly just observe, dear friends, here we have the value 3. And of course, we don't have the second entry of this vector b. So on viewing this result, of course, here it is a negative. So this is a positive value. So surely it is assumed to be a negative value. So which is in sense this one, if we just subtract this number with this, yeah, it is easily identified that this should be a minus value. And of course, it is also to be a minimized value. That is here, if I just get minus 3, so 2 minus 3, yeah, here we get the resultant as 1. So yes, it is identified by this exact x value is minus 1. So this exact example combines a positive value, of course a negative, and here 0, of course showing how each term shapes the result. The strong negative contributions makes the overall dot product negative. Okay, dear friends, kindly just observe these exercise gives you a step-by-step intuition for how dot product works. And finally, you can just find many more to practice on the book AI by Hand by Professor Tom. I just provide the link in the description. Kindly practice a lot directly. And yeah, let me just apply this dot product by using Python in a varied manner.
See here, this is the exact column and rows and columns of the matrix A, and we are randomly creating some matrix of 4 into 5 matrix, and of course it is 4 rows and 5 columns. And the second matrix B, yeah, here we are just creating randomly, and it's all about 5 into 4 matrix. And once for all, when on just doing the exact function of product is in the sense matrix multiplication, matrix dot product, yeah, here we just get the exact execution of it. And don't get much more doubt. Let me just have the print of A. 1 second. I just make you what is there in print of A. And let me just have the elements of B, and there we just take it. So see here, dear friends, the first one, it just shows the exact matrix of A. And then we just have the matrix of B. Of course, kindly just observe this exact matrix of A. We just have it as a 4 rows and 5 columns. And when on just coming to the matrix B, we just have 5 rows and 4 columns. And when on just producting it with the dot function, we just get the multiplication of the matrix A and B. And here is the resultant. And dear friends, in addition to finding the dot product of two matrices, you can also use element-wise multiplying two matrices.
Okay, dear friends, before applying this matrix multiplication using Python, let me just explore step-by-step example that shows how multiplying matrix works. So from simple scalar cases to more complex row by column rules. So let me just see the first example. So kindly just observe, dear friends. So here we have a vector A with the value 4 and a vector B with the value 3. And so kindly just observe when on just dot producting 8. So multiplying here, of course here we just have only one value each. So the resultant, it would be multiplying, directly multiplying. So the 4 into 3, 4 times the 3, here we just get the value 12. And towards this exercise, kindly just observe, dear friends, vector A, it just has the value 2. And the vector B, it has the value 5. And when multiplying 2 times 5, Yes, the value here, that is the resultant of this matrix, that is element wise matrix, here it is 10. The vector A, it has only one value, that is 2. The vector B, it has two values, that is 4 and 3. And kindly just observe, both are not equally dimensioned. And here we are in need to find, of course, only one value towards the resultant. So kindly just observe. So here we just make the first entry multiplies towards this first entry. So here 2 times 4, we just get 8. And one more thing, observe dear friends, here we doesn't have any second entry to make a multiply times of this second entry. With the same single entry, we are just going to multiply it with the second entry of B, so which it just gives the value 6. Of course, it is already given, and here we are to find the value of the first entry alone. So even though the dimension which it just has different dimension, yes, it is very easy to identify. Now kindly just observe, here we have the same, the vector A, it has the value 3, and the vector B, it has value 2 values, that is negative -2 and the 5. Okay, and here we are in need to identify the second value of the resultant. And as we already know, so the first entry multiplied towards the first entry, and here it is a negative value, so we just resulted with negative value. And towards the same entry of this vector A multiplying with this second entry of B, so we just get the value, oh sorry, it is 3, so it is 15. So 3 times 5, here we just get the value 15. Now dear friends, here kindly just observe, it is an enhanced manner of matrix multiplication. So here we have a two vector, vector A and vector B. And one thing with different dimension. And as I have already specified, kindly just see here, this exact number of column would be equal to the number of rows. Number of columns of vector A should be equal to number of columns in vector B. So here, yes. So let me just have the vector A as 1, 1 and minus 1, 1. And observe the vector B, it has the value 152 and 242. So what we have to do now? Yes, the first row with the first row of vector A, now we are going to multiply with first column of vector B. So here row into column matrix. So that makes here, so 1 times 1 adding with 1 times 2. So 1 times 1 we have 1, and the 1 times 2 we are having the value 2, and summing this both we just get the value 3, the result 3. Now moving on, the first row of vector A and the second column of vector B. Kindly just observe, this is 1 time 5 and 1 time 4. So 5 and 4. So now the value it would be 9. Now again moving on, the first row from the vector A and the third column from the vector B. So kindly just observe dear friends, it is 1 time 2 and here also the same 1 time 2. So summing this up we just get 4. And observe here it is not yet ended. So we are just moving on to the second row of vector A. Now with the second row of this vector A, we are just going to calculate everything again from this vector B. So yes, taking the second row of vector A and the first column of vector B, kindly just observe, this is 1 times negative 1 and 2 times that is positive 1. So here, yes, exactly, the value it would be minus 1 and plus 2. So the answer here it would be 1. And next moving on to this negative 1 times 5, so minus 5, and 1 times 4, it is 4. So here, of course, the negative is the one dominating, so the value, resulted value, it would be minus 1. And moving on to this, dear friends, kindly just observe negative 1 times 2, yes, negative 1 times 2 and the positive 1 times 2, yes. So here, of course, it just results with 0. And kindly just observe, this is the result. That's wrap up our matrix multiplication workbook. So each example builds you intuition step by step, and you can practice even more on Professor Tom's AI by hand is there, and here matrix multiplications workbook is there. I just provide you the link in the description. Kindly make use and practice directly.
Yeah, it's very simple as like pausing the multiply function here. And kindly just observe here, we are just going to make use of the exact function by passing the row 1 as 10, 12 and 13, and just having the row 2 with the elements as 45, 32 and 16, and lastly the row 3 with 45, 32 and 16 the same. Yeah, let me just have our two-dimensional array with these elements, row 1, row 2, row 3. Of course, kindly just have a note of it, what you are just going to have it in the 2D, and then we just go for the multiply function, where this multiply functions would just make it multiply of itself as like element wise multiplying matrix. Yeah, this is one matrix of 2D dimensional with row 1, row 2, row 3, and after that multiplying by itself, that is element wise multiplications. So here we just get the exact answer, and kindly have a note of it. This is the multiply of 10 into 10, we just get 100, and 12 into 12, we just get 144, and 13 into 13, we just get 169. As like that, this is an element wise matrix multiplication where we have just used the function multiply. And there we just have the matrix inverse. Dear friends, here we are having one of the main function as a linear algebra function, which we are just going to make use for matrix inversion. And to find the inverse of a matrix, we are making it the combination of linear algebra dot NIV. This is the exact function we are going to pass it. Of course, yeah, we are having the exact exact two-dimensional array, and that is the matrix, and here with row 1, row 2, row 3 as to that of given. So let me just first we have what there in this nums 2D, that is two-dimensional, and once after inversing it, what we just get. Yeah, let I execute it, and let me just see it here. Kindly have a note of it, dear friends. So this is what the exact matrix of the given 1, 2, 3, 5, 2, 8 and 9, 1, 10. And kindly just observe, dear friend, there is not a normal inversing of that matrix. Here we are using the linear algebra operations with this numpy, and of course we are just passing it to the exact two-dimensional array here. And next we just have the determinant function. Yeah, for determinant function also we are in need of the linear algebra and to have the determinant. And of course, dear friend, here we are having the same columns, the same rows, and to that of element of row 1, row 2, row 3. And here we have the two-dimensional array of row 1, row 2, row 3 with 3 into 3 matrix. And when on just calculating, that is evaluating the determinant of the 2D two-dimensional 3 into 3 matrix and we just get one single value of the determinant. Of course, kindly have a note of it. This is what the exact determinant value of this given 3 into 3 matrix. Next, there comes the matrix trace, dear friend. So here, matrix trace, the trace of a matrix refers to the sum of all the elements along the diagonal of a matrix. Along all the diagonals. So kindly just have a note of it. To find the trace of the matrix, you have to use the function trace. So here we are not going towards the linear algebra. It is directly a trace, whereas we are just going to have only the summation of that diagonal element. And kindly have a note of it. Let me just print it and then we just make that evaluation. And here we just go. So we are going to have the trace of that element and kindly identify, dear friends, the diagonal is 1, 5 and 9. And when on making that summation of that diagonal element of a matrix, yeah, we just get the resultant as like 15. And here we are on to our main function here. That is a linear equation, solving a linear equations with NumPy. So now that you know how to use NumPy library to perform various linear algebra functions, so here we are just going to solve a system of linear equations, which is one of the most basic problem in linear algebra. And dear friends, a system of linear equations refers to a collection of equations with some unknown variables. And solving a system of linear equations refers to finding the value of unknown variables in that equations. And here, one of the way to solve a system of linear equations is by using the matrix. Okay, so let's try to solve the two equations here. Yeah, of course, here this is the exact equation. I'm just going to make it towards the matrix formation. And of course, we are going to convert the above equation here, that is 6x plus 3y is equal to 42 and 2x plus 4y is equal to 32. And we are just going to make it into a matrix and vector form. So here, how we are just making it to the matrix A, we just get the equation, and to the vectors, it is all on B. So here the number of rows in matrix A will be equal to the number of equations and number of columns will be equal to the number of variables. And here in our case, matrix A will consist of 2 rows and 2 columns. And therefore, the value of matrix A will be constant term and on the left side of that equations. So here kindly just have a note of it, dear friend. Let me just make it towards an linear functionality. So here it's just, we are taking our A is equal to us like the matrix of 6 and 3 and 2 and 4. Kindly just observe that equation here, what we just having it. And of course, the vector B will be the vector of size n. So where n is the number of equation in the system of linear equations. So here the value in the vector B will be the value on the right side of the equal operator. So in the system of this linear equation, so kindly have a note of it. This is also the given B, which we are just going to make it as 42 and 32. So this is the exact value. And finally, you need to create another vector that contains the value for your unknown variables. So here we are just going to identify the unknown variables, the value for unknown variables as x and y. And kindly just see, this is what we are going to name the vector x, which we have the x and y, which we want to identify. So the system of linear equation can now be, how it would be, as like A x, which is equal to B. And to find the value of this unknown variable x and y, you have to make it this conversion of equation towards. Kindly just observe here, dear friends. We want to identify this exact value, so we have to inverse the matrix of A and we have to do the dot product towards the B. So here, first of all, we have to take the inverse of matrix A. So this is what the first step we have to do, and take its dot product with the matrix B. So here after this we have to do this one. This is the second step. And the resultant of this matrix, we would just get the exact value of X, where it would be the exact value for X and Y, which is an unknown. So let me just go for the exact evaluation here. So let I execute this A and B. So here we just making the A inverse. So first we are applying for A inverse by passing the linear algebra functionality towards the inverse of A. And what is A? Of course, we are having 6, 3 and 2, 4. And when on inversing, kindly just observe, dear friends. So this is the A inverse, that is inverse of matrix A. And now we have to do the product, dot product with that A inverse and with the B functionality. So there we just identify, kindly observe, we are just going to have the resultant matrix X, which will contain the value of that unknown variables. So here 4 and 6. And 4 and 6 exactly, this is what the one which we identify, and the output shows that in our system of linear equations, the value of the unknown variable X and Y are 4 and 6 respectively. And even though you can just put these values in the above equation and see if you get the exact answer or not. And that's bringing us to the end of this deep dive into NumPy. Yes, we have gone beyond the basics from slicing and broadcasting arrays to performing advanced statistical analysis, handling CSV files, and even applying linear algebra operations with NumPy. And a special appreciation goes to Professor Tom for his AI by hand material, which made our exploration of dot products and matrix multiplication so much more practical approach. So in this session, we have covered just a few examples, but there are many more available on his page. So the link is shared in the description for your to practice directly. Keep experimenting with these tools, because NumPy is not just about arrays. It's about building the foundation for machine learning, deep learning, and generative AI. If you found this session helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and to stay tuned for the next session in this Gen AI journey. And hit the bell icon so you never miss any chance. See you in the next session, dear friends. Happy learning.